Welcome back to another episode of the South by East podcast, where we discuss everything from music, the culture, the scriptures, and everything in between. So, Brail, what do we have this week?
Man, this week we are looking at an article. This is pretty interesting. So, marijuana is no longer banned for some NCAA athletes. The article's super short, so I'm just gonna skim through it real quick so we can kind of get the context. It says the NCAA has removed marijuana from its banned drugs list for Division I college football championships and postseason. Man, I got some folks that would have benefited from this many years ago. Individual universities have their own drug policies that apply during the regular season, but the NCAA rules take over in its postseason competition. Josh Whitman, chair of the NCAA Division I Council, said that the change was made because the drug testing program is aimed at promoting the integrity of competition, and cannabis products do not provide a competitive advantage. Okay. NCAA's Committee on Competitive Safeguards and Medical Aspects of Sports had previously recommended marijuana be removed from all three divisions' banned drug lists. In 2022, the NCAA raised the threshold of positive THC tests, according to Spectrum News. This latest change comes in the wake of a large-scale study on substance use among student athletes. This was interesting to me. It found an increase in self-reported cannabis use from 22% to 26%. But at the same time, it noted that narcotic use continues to fall among student athletes, with 6% acknowledging the use of prescription painkillers, including just under 2% who said they use them without a prescription. Where you at, John?
Cap.
What are you thinking?
So, we are out here advocating for players to start wearing cotton sleeves over top of their helmets to prevent concussions. Mm-hmm. Not because they wasn't wearing the helmet toppers before. They wasn't restricted from wearing them before because they thought that they provided a competitive advantage, but they did it for what? Player safety. So the NCAA coming out and talking about, well, we don't believe marijuana provides a competitive advantage, and therefore we're not banning it anymore. They never thought it provided a competitive advantage. They always limited or regulated the substance for player safety, saying that these are student athletes in which we want to protect as much as we can for their well-being. And so we know, look, I know some states have legalized marijuana. Mm-hmm. I know there's been unfair treatment in the legal system of marijuana versus other drugs. This is not a debate around that.
Yeah.
We're just still saying that smoking marijuana is not healthy for you, and it's not the good deal. And we know that the prefrontal cortex has not been fully developed in a college student, and so that is that strain of saying, man, you just don't just take all the restraints off just because. If I did that at home with my kids, I got one kid that would never eat a vegetable, mm-hmm. right? I got kids that would always like eat junk food and do the wrong thing, and I just don't think it's cap, man, to say that. And so I look at that, but I see the NCAA. I think they kind of did this as a thumbing of the nose. Also, they mad about the NIL. They mad about the NIL deals. They mad about the revenue sharing they're having to do with the players. And the players got them on that, right? But then I feel kind of like there's like, well, we're just going to take some rules off where you shorten your life anyway. And it's like, I mean, it's one of those deals where this is not the best thing. This is not the best thing for those athletes. It is not.
So here's where I sit. I don't disagree with you on that. I don't follow a lot of sports.
Yeah.
But on the outside, this looks like Roe v. Wade to me. So when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I know that you were speaking with a lot of people, and we saw a lot of stuff come out where there were people who were not necessarily pro-abortion who were like, yeah, I think Roe v. Wade should be overturned. Why? Because they said it's a bad law. It's a bad law. The treatment of marijuana in America, especially since the war on drugs, marijuana was always bad for you in most cases. Like, I know there's some people who use it medicinally, but even then, it's not good for your lungs. It's bad for you. But that wasn't the purpose of the law was not to protect people. It was to persecute and prosecute people. Did the NCAA restrict people's usage of marijuana to protect them? Or was it just, I'm going along with the laws of the land, which also restrict people's access to marijuana, but it was never to protect them?
Here's how this is different for me.
Okay.
Roe v. Wade was a law that had some legal things opposed to it. What the NCAA was doing didn't have any legal ramifications to it. So even like in Colorado, you still can't have THC in your system and authorize big construction equipment.
Right.
That company still says, for your good, we won't let you smoke marijuana and operate this equipment because it's just not good for you. And so that company is not saying we're going to throw you in jail if we find you fail a drug test. They're saying you're not going to be able to work for us and operate
this machinery.
This machinery.
Could it push you in danger?
And so that's, for me, the equivalent with this and how this is different than Roe versus Wade for me is because it's saying, hey, we're just not going to allow you to do things to endanger yourself or others because of your drug use, right? And, man, we got to start teaching this now because, look, yes, it's legal and there's a lot of jobs you're going to cut yourself off from if it's that bad where you have to do it where you can't keep a job because of this habit.
Yeah, you got to think about
we gotta have another conversation. Yeah. We got to be real about the conversation. Yeah. And that's the deal is, so if the true, same thing about the legal system. If it's true rehabilitation, and if college is truly to prepare our young individuals for their next stage of life, being able to comply to the rules of that industry in which you are operating in is a part of prepping, because my kids ask me all the time, even now at 9, 9, and 8, when I get grown, can I do anything I want to do? And I tell them, no, you cannot. No. You still won't be able to do anything that you want to do when you're an adult. And so you got to learn how to follow rules now. And so that's one of the deals. And I just don't think this is best for the student athlete. Would some guys still be playing and would have played more? Yeah, and there's a good chance that those guys would have had some significant issues, and they would have had access to more excess by continuing to play and not somebody regulating it then.
Man, I don't, like I said, I don't follow sports. I don't know that saying like, man, we found this THC in your system, so now you're kicked out. If that kid then goes home and goes, well, I'm never smoking weed again. I think that kid goes home and smokes more weed.
But that's not what the NCAA was doing either.
What were they doing?
They were like, oh, we found THC in your system. We're going to get you into this treatment program. And we're going to have some more treatment. And we're going to have some boundaries in to do some different things.
I didn't know that.
Eventually, you got to the point where you got kicked out. But here's the, let's take it here with 1 Corinthians. There were some things going on in the Corinthian church, and Paul addressed them. And Paul was saying, hey, you need to discipline this person, not the person that's struggling with the sin, but the person that's outright just in full-blown, knowing intentional rebellion with no struggle at all, choosing to keep behaving in that. That's the person you need to discipline. Not the person that's struggling with this thing, but the person who is full-blown making this choice and going down this road, and you know it's to their detriment. But you're doing it so that you hope that they hit their rock bottom and turn around and rejoin fellowship kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
The NCAA with the marijuana deal wasn't I'm trying to kick out and distance this person who is struggling with this and is in our treatment program. It was, this person is just full blown in this and his lifestyle ain't trying to get better on this, and we know it's to their detriment. So maybe if we enact some penalties on them, it might help them bring in and stick to this system of care to help get them out of this.
Yeah, and that is different. Like that context, that changes things a lot because I didn't know that that's how they were moving with that, and that is different from how we've treated marijuana laws because we've thrown people in jail and we were not trying to help rehabilitate them at all,
Bro.
And so like that is way different. That changes my perspective.
And there's people. So here's the deal: as a student athlete, they had access to treatment plans and processes that people on the outside could never afford.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. Yeah, that makes me look at this real different. That makes me look at this real different. But what do y'all think? We want to keep having the conversation after the conversation in the comment section. So hop in there, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week right here
In the intersection.